Jake Miller was just a repair tech from Earth. He had no special skills, no medals, no heroic past. He worked on power lines and water pipes on Xerion, a strange alien planet full of rules and danger. His job was simple: fix things, stay inside the human zone, and don't touch anything glowing. But Jake was curious, too curious. Maybe one night, while scanning an old signal outside the base, he saw something strange on his handheld screen. It was a moving light, pulsing like a heartbeat, leading deep into the jungle. He should have reported it, but instead he followed it. The jungle of Xerion was alive literally. Trees moved, plants whispered, and even the ground felt like it was breathing. But Jake kept going, flashlight in one hand, scanner in the other. The signal led him to a glowing blue flower, tall and beautiful, with silver leaves that shimmered under the moonlight. "Whoa," Jake whispered, stepping closer. It wasn't in any Earth database. He reached out not to touch it, just to scan it. But the moment his fingers got close, the flower opened. It released a sudden wave of soft light, like a pulse of warm energy. Jake stumbled back, eyes wide. Then he heard something, a voice soft and musical. "Who's there?" It said. From behind the tree, she stepped out, an alien girl, tall and graceful, her skin a soft purple, glowing faintly in the night. Her hair floated like smoke, and her eyes were bright blue like the ocean. She was wearing a light suit made of living fabric, moving gently with her breath. Jake froze. He had never seen an alien so close, especially not one this human-looking. The girl looked at him, confused. Then she looked down at herself, and then her face turned bright pink. "What did you do to me?" she said, her voice shaking. Jake looked where she was looking. Her chest, where before there had been a smooth curve, was now noticeably larger. Jake's mouth opened, but no words came out. I didn't do anything," he stammered. The girl backed away, holding her arms around herself. "That plant, it's sacred." "You idiot," she hissed. "It changed me because of you." Jake blinked. "What?" "I just scanned it. I didn't touch." "You were close enough," she snapped, cheeks still burning. "It reacts to energy, and now it thinks I've been bonded." Jake didn't understand. "Bonded? What does that mean?" "It means," she said slowly, "that it sees you as my pair." A long silence followed. Only the soft hum of the jungle could be heard. Jake scratched his head. This has to be a mistake," he said. Before she could answer, the ground shook. Trees bent as a low growl echoed through the night. Something was coming, something big. The girl's face went pale. "You triggered the plant, which woke the guardian," she said, stepping back in fear. Jake heard it too now, a heavy thud, like metal footsteps approaching. "What is a guardian?" he asked, heart racing. "It protects the sacred grounds," she said, "and it doesn't like intruders." Jake grabbed her hand without thinking. "Come on, we have to run," he said. She pulled back. "I don't run from my peoples." "Protector." Another growl shook the trees, this one louder, closer. Jake stared at her. "Do you want to die here blushing, or live and figure this out later?" She hesitated, just a moment, then nodded and ran with him, behind them. Something massive moved through the trees. Red eyes glowed in the dark, and the jungle screamed in warning. Jake didn't dare look back. He only knew one thing: his night just got a lot more complicated. And somehow, this was only the beginning. Luma had never blushed before, not once in her life. Orlans didn't usually blush, at least not like humans did. But here she was, crouched behind a tree, her face glowing pink, her hands trying to cover the sudden change in her chest. All because of him. That clueless human with messy hair and a confused look, Jake Miller. He was the one who triggered the sacred plant. He was the reason her body had transformed in such a visible way. And now, because of an ancient law, that accident meant they were linked. "This is so wrong," she muttered. Still hiding, Jake peeked from behind a thick bush, panting. "Okay, I think we lost it, the big robot monster or whatever." "That was," he said. Luma didn't answer. She was too busy trying not to scream, cry, or faint. Jake finally turned to her. "You all right?" he asked carefully. "No, I am not all right," she snapped. "Do I look all right to you?" Jake blinked, then awkwardly looked away. "Right, yeah, sorry, I wasn't trying to, look," she said sharply. "No, I mean yes, no. I mean forget it," Jake groaned, rubbing his face. Luma sighed. "This is not your fault entirely," she said after a pause. "But the problem is, the plant chose you." "Chose me?" Jake repeated, confused. "It's a bonding flower," she explained. "Only reacts to compatible energy." Jake scratched his head. "So you're saying it thinks we're a couple?" "Worse," she muttered. "It thinks you're my protector." "My mate," Jake nearly choked. "What? We just met." "Tell that to the plant," Luma said, her face burning even brighter. They sat in silence for a moment, the jungle humming softly around them. Then Luma stood up, more serious now. "We can't stay here. My people will come looking, and if they find you, they'll say thanks for saving their princess." Jake joked. Luma gave him a flat stare. "I'm not a princess. I'm a highborn Aurelin, daughter of the council, and we don't thank humans." Jake raised his hands. Okay. Just trying to lighten the mood." She turned away, arms crossed. "This is no joke, human. If my people find us like this, they'll think you touched me." Jake's eyes widened. "Touched you? I didn't even." "They won't care. The bond is proof enough." Suddenly, a sharp buzzing sound filled the air. Luma grabbed Jake's arm, pulling him down. A flying Orban Aurelin. Scout zipped past overhead, scanning the ground. "They're already searching," she whispered. "We need to move." Jake looked at her hand on his arm. "Wait, you're helping me?" Luma sighed. "Yes, unfortunately, we're now linked. I can feel your emotions, your fear, your confusion." Jake smirked. "Can you feel my embarrassment too?" Her face went red again. "Don't push your luck," she said. They began walking, staying low, moving through thick vines and glowing moss. Jake couldn't help but steal glances at her. Even with everything going on, she was beautiful, not just physically, but the way she carried herself. Proud but vulnerable, strong but unsure. They found a small cave behind a waterfall and stopped to rest. Luma sat near the edge, staring into the distance. "I shouldn't even be talking to you," she said softly. "But I don't hate it." Jake raised an eyebrow. That almost sounded like a compliment. "Don't get used to it," she replied quickly, but the corner of her lips curved just slightly. Jake leaned back. "So what now?" "We find a way to reverse the bond," she said. "If it's even possible. And if it's not?" She looked at him, her cheeks still warm. "Then you're stuck with me," she said quietly. Jake chuckled. "There are worse fates." Suddenly, Luma stiffened, her hand on her head. "What is it?" Jake asked. "I just got a psychic message," she said, eyes wide. "My father knows." Jake sat up straight. "Knows what?" "Everything," she whispered. "The bond, the flower, you." A pause. Jake swallowed hard. "And what did he say?" Luma looked at him, her voice barely a whisper. "He said bring the human to me, or face exile." It didn't breathe, it didn't blink, and it definitely didn't stop. The jungle had been calm for only a moment, but now the trees were trembling again. A low hum filled the air, like a machine waking up after centuries of sleep. Something ancient, cold, and deadly had locked onto their location. Luma jumped to her feet, her face pale. "No," she whispered. "It's really awake now." Jake stood beside her, confused. "What is?" he asked, but the ground shook before she could answer. Out from the shadows of the jungle came a monster, part machine, part creature. Its long limbs covered in glowing cables, and armor made of bone and steel. Its eyes, if they could be called, that were two red beams, searching, scanning, hunting. It was the Guardian, but not like before. Now it was fully activated, and it was angry. Jake grabbed Luma's arm. "Run," he said. "No," she said, her voice shaking. "We can't." Outrun that. Then what do we do? He asked, panic rising. Luma turned to him. You have Earth tech, right? Use it. Jake pulled a small tool from his belt, more like a multi-tool than a weapon. This? It fixes pipes, he said. Then get creative, Luma said, pulling him behind a large root. The biotech beast stomped forward, scanning everything. Its sensors locked on the cave entrance, and a deep growl rumbled from its chest. Jake stared at the creature in horror. That's the security system your people use? It's over 1,000 years old, Luma said. Built to protect the sacred plant from beings like you. Jake peeked from behind the root. Okay, think, Jake, think, he muttered. He opened his tool, switched it to shock mode, and connected a nearby glowing vine. The vine lit up, then sparked, sending a pulse of electricity across the ground. The Guardian paused. It scanned the electric pulse, confused for a moment. That gave them just enough time. Now, Jake said, grabbing Luma's hand. Run that way. They dashed through the jungle, dodging trees, ducking under branches. The Guardian roared behind them and fired a blast of energy that sliced through the air. It missed but barely. Luma was breathing hard. Why is it only targeting me now? Jake glanced at her chest, then quickly looked away. Maybe because you're changed? She groaned. Perfect. The universe turns my coconuts into targets. They dove into a ravine, landing on soft moss above them. The biotech beast searched from the edge. It didn't jump, it scanned instead. It knows we're trapped, Jake said, looking up. Not for long, Luma replied. Pulling out a small orb from her belt, she threw it up, and it exploded mid-air, releasing a bright light. The Guardian shrieked, covering its sensors. Jake used the moment to attach his electric tool to a stone plate near the wall. With a spark and a hiss, a hidden panel opened, revealing a secret tunnel. They rushed inside, darkness closing behind them. Only the soft glow from Luma's skin lit the narrow passage. They stopped to catch their breath. Jake sat down, exhausted. That was insane, Luma nodded. But we survived. Jake looked at her. You saved me back there. I saved us, she corrected. Our bond means if you die, I feel it, and I'd rather not die today. Jake smiled. Well, thanks anyway. Luma looked away, her voice softer now. This thing between us, it's getting stronger. Jake leaned back. Yeah, I noticed. I can feel your heartbeat, she said. It's fast, Jake blushed. Probably because I'm sitting next to a powerful alien warrior girl who keeps blushing every time she talks. Her face turned pink again. You're not helping, she muttered. I wasn't trying to, Jake said, smiling, but the quiet moment didn't last. Suddenly, the wall behind them shimmered, and a figure stepped through. It wasn't the Guardian. It was something worse, tall, armored, and carrying a staff glowing with ancient energy. He looked at Luma with burning eyes. By the order of the Aurelin Council, he said, you are under arrest for forbidden bonding. Luma stood in front of Jake. If you want him, she said, you'll have to go through me. The guard raised his staff. So be it. The first time Jake felt her pain, it nearly dropped him to his knees. A sharp burning in his side, right where Luma had been struck by the guard's staff. He hadn't been touched, but it didn't matter. The bond had grown stronger, deeper, unbreakable. Jake clutched his ribs and groaned. Luma screamed as the guard advanced again. Stop! Jake yelled. You're hurting both of us. The Aurelin warrior hesitated. He narrowed his eyes. So it's true, he said slowly. You're fully bonded. Luma, breathing hard, stepped in front of Jake once more. This is not what it looks like, she said. The warrior raised an eyebrow. Then why is the human feeling your wounds? Jake straightened, wiping sweat from his brow. Because apparently, your ancient jungle plant turned me into her psychic boyfriend. The guard didn't laugh. He activated his staff again, but Luma raised her hand. If you hurt him again, you'll kill me, she said, voice steady. The warrior lowered the staff. But his expression didn't soften. "You must come with me, both of you now." They were taken in silence. Through dark tunnels lined with glowing crystals, the deeper they went, the stronger the connection became. Jake felt Luma's thoughts like whispers, soft and uncertain. She felt his heartbeat, fast and nervous. They entered a circular chamber. Walls covered in symbols, a woman waited inside, tall, cold, elegant, with silver markings on her forehead. Luma froze. "Mother," she whispered. Jake stared. "That's her mother?" He thought. She looked like a queen carved out of starlight. The woman stepped forward, eyes locked on Luma. "You disobeyed the law, touched the sacred bloom, and now—" "This," she said, glancing at Jake like he was bacteria. "It was an accident," Luma said. "The bloom reacted before I could stop it." The woman shook her head. "There are no accidents with ancient tech. It only responds to truth." Jake stepped forward. "Look, I didn't mean to bond with your daughter." "Okay. I just followed a signal." Her eyes flared. "And now your signal is imprinted on her life force," she said. "You are cursed, both of you." "Cursed?" Jake repeated. "Yes," the woman said. "This bond is forbidden for a reason. It doesn't just link bodies, it merges destinies." Luma's eyes widened. "What are you saying?" "You two," her mother said slowly, "are becoming one." Jake blinked. "Wait, what do you mean one?" Luma looked pale. "It means," she said softly, "our minds, our bodies, our fates, they're aligning." The guard stepped forward. "We've seen this once before, centuries ago, and it nearly destroyed us." Jake raised his hands. "Okay, but we can fix it, right? Break the link?" The woman looked at him. "There is one way," she said, "but it's dangerous, and most who try don't survive." Luma clenched her fists. "I'll do it," she said. Jake turned to her. "Wait, slow down. Let's think this through." She shook her head. "You don't understand, Jake. I have to fix this, before it gets worse." Before anyone could argue, a sharp pulse hit the chamber. A vibration through the air, like thunder without sound. The crystals flickered, the walls trembled. The queen looked up sharply. "No," she whispered. "It's waking up." Jake frowned. "What is?" Luma's voice cracked. "The core, the ancient source of the bloom. It's reacting to us." The queen turned to the guard. "Take them to the ritual pool," she said. "Now." Moments later, Jake and Luma were led into a glowing cave at the center. A pool of liquid light shimmered like glass. Luma stepped toward it, barefoot, breath shaking. Jake grabbed her hand. "You don't have to do this alone," he said. She looked at him, heart pounding. "You're already inside my thoughts, Jake. There's no such thing as alone anymore." They stepped into the pool together. The light rose around them, and suddenly everything changed. They saw flashes, memories, futures, stars, and vines wrapping around their hearts. Jake heard her laugh, her fears, her childhood dreams. Luma saw his loneliness, his jokes, his quiet strength. The bond wasn't a curse, it was a bridge. And something ancient wanted it to happen. When the light faded, they stood there, stronger, clearer. But the queen looked worried. "The bond has grown beyond control," she said. "If it continues, it will awaken them." Jake frowned. "Who's them?" Luma whispered. "The ancients, the first Orlins. And they don't like waking up." The stars were no longer safe. They used to be cold and quiet, full of distance and silence. But now, every moon, every asteroid, every signal, they all watched him. Jake had never flown a starship before, but here he was, gripping the controls of a stolen Orlin glider, engines shaking, alarms flashing. Luma sat beside him, focused, silent, her hand glowing as she tried to hide their energy signature. Behind them, 3 Orlin warships moved like shadows. Fast, silent, deadly. They weren't chasing a criminal. They were chasing a mistake, a forbidden connection, a human who had no right to be bonded with a royal Orlin girl. Jake looked at Luma. her face calm but eyes storming. "How far are they?" he asked. She closed her eyes, feeling the psychic pressure in the air. "They're 2 jumps away," she whispered. "But they won't stop this time." He turned the glider hard. Spinning into the dark space between 2 moons, gravity pulled. The stars twisted and the silence grew louder. Jake never felt so small, and yet the bond inside him made him feel impossibly connected. "I can feel your fear," Luma said suddenly. Jake glanced at her. "Yeah, well, I'm piloting a stolen alien ship through a moonbelt while being hunted by glowing people with laser spears." Her lips twitched, half amusement, half exhaustion. "You're doing better than most humans would." They landed on a frozen moon, white and blue like cracked glass. The glider sank beneath the ice surface and hid, powered down, inside. Only the soft pulse of the bond remained faint, steady. Alive, Jake leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "Remind me again how this is our life now." Luma sat beside him, pulling her knees to her chest. "You touched something ancient," she said quietly, "and it touched us back." Jake looked down at his hand. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen." "I know," she said. "That's why it did." Silence. Then she looked at him again. "There's something I haven't told you." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Wow, you mean there's more?" She nodded slowly. "The bond unlocked something in me, a map." "A map?" "A hidden path to the archive of the ancients," she said. "They're not just stories, Jake, they're real, and they left behind something." Jake sat up. "Something like what?" "A cure," she said. "Or a weapon, maybe both." "Then why didn't you say that earlier?" "Because if we find it, it could break the bond, or it could destroy you." A signal blipped on the panel. Jake froze. "They found us." Outside, the ice cracked, and a dark shape rose from below, an Arlen hunter drone, silent as a ghost. Luma's body tensed, energy crackling through her hands. Jake stood up. "I'll distract it, you run." She grabbed his arm. "If you die, I feel it, remember?" Jake gave her a small smile. "Still worth it." Before she could argue, the ship shook. A blade of energy sliced through the wall, and the drone entered, tall, floating, soulless. Jake charged forward, throwing a pulse grenade. Luma summoned a shield, blocking a deadly shot aimed at Jake's chest. The fight was fast, chaotic, beautiful. Jake's earth tools clashed with ancient Arlen tech, while Luma's powers flowed like water. Together, they moved like instinct, no planning. Just trust. Finally, the drone sparked, screamed, and fell into the ice. Gone. Silence returned. But Jake's breathing was shaky. He sat down, his chest burning. I felt that hit. It grazed me," Luma said softly, kneeling beside him. "The pain passed to you." She placed her hand on his, and warmth spread through his chest. "Better?" "Yeah," he whispered. "I think I'm getting used to this weird alien soulmate thing." Luma smiled faintly. "You're stronger than you think, Jake." He looked into her glowing eyes. "You know, for a girl who wanted me arrested, you're being kinda nice lately." Her cheeks flushed pink again. "Don't make me regret it." A warning light blinked, an encrypted message incoming. Luma opened it with a thought. Her eyes went wide. "It's from a bounty hunter," she said. Jake tensed. "Friendly?" "He says he can take us to the archive." Jake frowned. "That's good, right?" Luma bit her lip. "He also says he's bonded too, asterisk." The bounty hunter didn't knock. He stepped out of shadow like a ghost from a forgotten war. His body was wrapped in black armor stitched with glowing veins, his face hidden behind a cowl. Cracked helmet. Only one word came from his voice modulator. "Bonded." Luma froze. Jake reached for his tool instinctively, but the hunter raised a hand, not in threat, but understanding. "You're not the first." The bounty hunter said, "But you might be the last." They sat in a silent cave lit by crystal roots, while outside, distant engines of Orlan warships echoed like thunder. The hunter pulled off his helmet. Jake expected a monster. Instead, he saw a man not much older than him, eyes tired, face marked with glowing lines like vines trapped under skin. My name was Corin, the hunter said slowly. I was bonded long ago to an Arlen just like you. Jake leaned forward. What happened to her? Corin looked away. She's still alive. Inside me. Jake blinked, confused. What do you mean inside you? The bond evolved, Corin said. It stopped being a connection and became a merge. Luma's voice was quiet. You're the first forbidden one. Corin nodded. They used that name like a curse, but it was fear, not truth. Jake rubbed his chest. The bond inside him felt heavier, warmer, like it heard every word. Corin placed a stone on the ground. The hologram showed two beings, one human, one Arling, slowly fusing together. Their minds, their cells, their souls. The archive isn't just data, Corin said. It's a door, left behind by the ancients. Door to what? Jake asked. Corin looked straight at him. To evolution or extinction? The bond inside Jake pulsed harder. He looked at Luma, her eyes wide, afraid, but not of Corin. She was afraid of what she already knew. I saw it, she whispered. Back in the ritual pool, when we touched the light. Jake turned to her. What did you see? She stared at him, her voice shaking. I saw us. Not just connected, but becoming something new. Something that doesn't belong in this galaxy. Corin nodded. The ancients were the first to bond across species. Their power grew too fast, too strange, so their own kind destroyed them. Jake swallowed, and now we're repeating it. Luma reached out and held Jake's hand. But this time, we choose what we become. Just then, a sharp beep echoed through the cave. Corin's ship alarm. He stood instantly. They found us. Outside, golden ships surrounded the moon, and a psychic message flooded their minds. Return the forbidden ones, or be erased. Jake grabbed his toolkit. We run again? Corin shook his head. No, he said firmly. You don't run from fate. He activated a hidden door at the back of the cave. The archive is beneath this moon, he said. They built it into the crust, hidden from all eyes. They descended through glowing tunnels, the bond pulsing louder now, like a second heartbeat in Jake's chest. Luma walked close to him, breathing in sync. You feel it too? She asked. Yeah, Jake said softly, like it's calling us. They reached the archive doors, two massive slabs covered in ancient language. Glowing faintly, Corin touched the center, but nothing happened. Luma stepped forward, reached out with her hand. Jake did the same. When their palms met the stone together, the entire wall dissolved into light. Inside was not just a room, but a vision. The archive wasn't made of stone or machines, it was made of memory. Floating around them were scenes from forgotten times, aliens, humans, creatures bonded in ways beyond science, beyond control. Some became gods, some became monsters. Jake stepped forward. Why are we seeing this? A voice answered, not Corin's, not Luma's, but from the archive itself. Because you are the next. A swirl of golden light surrounded Jake and Luma. Lifting them gently, Corin backed away, eyes wide. The bond is choosing its final form, he whispered. Jake reached for Luma's hand. No matter what happens, we stay us, she nodded, eyes wet. Yes, even if we become something the stars fear. The chamber pulsed once, then everything went white. Asterisk at first, there was only light, not the kind you see, but the kind you feel. It wasn't warm or cold, but ancient, like the universe itself had stopped breathing to watch. Jake opened his eyes and saw stars, not in the sky but in Luma's eyes. Floating beside him, suspended in golden energy. She looked both scared and beautiful. Their hands were still joined, but everything else had changed. They weren't in the archive anymore. They were inside it, or maybe it was inside them now around. Them spun memories from other lifetimes, lovers, warriors, beings who had stood in this exact light long before them. Some had chosen power, some had chosen destruction, only a few had chosen love. A voice echoed in the air, soft but strong. You have been tested. Broken, healed, and chosen. Now you must decide. Become more or return to less. Jake turned to Luma. What do they mean? Luma's voice trembled. They're offering us evolution. A full merge. Jake blinked. You mean like we become one being? She nodded slowly. One mind, one body, one soul. Something new, something the galaxy has never seen before. Jake looked down at his hand, then back at her. But if we say no? We stay ourselves, she said. But the bond will remain forever, unbreakable. And the ancients? They go back to sleep. They stood in silence for a long moment. Then Jake said softly, I like who we are now. Luma's smile was small, but real. So do I. But before they could speak their choice, the chamber shook violently. The light dimmed, and the archive's warmth turned cold. Corin's voice echoed from somewhere beyond. They're attacking the moon, he warned. The council knows where you are. They're coming to erase everything. Luma's eyes burned with anger. They want to silence the bond. Jake clenched his fists. Then we give them something they can't ignore. The archive responded to their will, surrounding them in light once more. Two paths appeared, one leading to merge, the other to awaken the truth for all species, not just for them, but for anyone like them. A choice that would change history, forever. Luma looked into Jake's eyes. Even if this tears down everything. My people believe I'd rather live in truth. Jake stepped beside her. Then let's rewrite the rules. They touched the second path. The archive lit up with fire, stars, and sound. The bond between them pulsed so bright it cracked the ceiling. Every Orlan warship in orbit felt it. Every human sensor picked it up. The signal was clear. Two souls, once separate, now linked. Forever, by choice, not accident. A fusion of love and evolution, not domination, not control. As the archive unleashed its knowledge across the galaxy, Orlan codes rewritten themselves. Forbidden texts unlocked, old laws erased, and fear replaced by awe. On the battlefield above, the Orlan warships stopped firing. One by one, their engines dimmed. Inside, officers felt something new in their minds, soft echoes of thoughts not their own. A human heartbeat, an Orlan dream, back. In the chamber, Jake and Luma returned to solid ground, still themselves, still separate, but more. Their bond now visible like a golden thread of energy between their hearts. Luma looked down, surprised. The bond didn't fade, Jake smiled. It grew. Corin stepped forward, his face stunned. You didn't merge. You balanced, Jake grinned. We're not here to become gods, we just wanted to be seen. Luma nodded. And now? We all will be. The archive's light faded. But the pulse of change had already spread, on every moon, in every city, in every corner of space. Beings who had once hidden their feelings, their differences, their bonds now stood taller. Jake reached for Luma's hand. She took it, her blush returning for just a second. You still make me nervous, she whispered. Same, Jake replied. But I think the galaxy will get used to us. Together, they walked out of the archive. Not as an accident, not as a mistake, but as a signal that sometimes the forbiddance is just the beginning.